back on the Asensio point, I've been writing about him, and I'm going to publish something in the next couple of weeks or so on him. And just kind of, I have a lot of skepticism, and I'm a little bit reserved about some of these performances. This is I'd say his third good game of the season. It may not be on the level of the Mallorca game, or was it the Rayo game where he also played well? I think it was. Yeah, the Rayo game, or was it Sheriff? I can't remember.
Rayo,
it was Rayo.
Yeah.
So it may have not been on the level of that necessarily, but it was pretty good. And now that I'm kind of talking myself through this, maybe it was on the level of those games, just in the sense that he didn't need to have like this otherworldly moment, but he was consistently from like minute 1 to 90 involved, and that's a good sign to me. His body language was good. He looked confident, a confidence that maybe he didn't have in the last 2 years or so. He had 2 roulettes in this game, I think. One of them was in a really tight space in the box, where actually it was a good counter-pressing sequence too, because that was a play where Real Madrid lose the ball in the box and he wins it back and he does the roulette. And the goal he scored, good run, decent finish, He had 2 right-footed attempts in this game. I mean, maybe that's one of the funny things about playing on the right wing is you assume he'd cut in and shoot with his left, but 2 of his really good chances, one of them led to the goal. One of them, which was cleared right off the line, was a right footer, which you and I were looking at that and we were like, he didn't connect with it cleanly, but somehow that actually was the best path to goal. If he had just put a little bit more power behind it, I think it would have went in. I like this Asensio performance. I think this is a good string of games from him. If he's not going to be an elite dribbler like a Vinicius, where he's going to take players on constantly, the best version of him outside of that is going to be someone like this, something like this he can connect the dots. His movement in the right half space in connection with Modric was really good on that right side. Just his ability to control the ball in tight spaces and make sure the ball keeps flowing. He's a good outlet. So if he's not going to be a dribbler supreme, if you get this version of him, this is the next best version of him. The only thing missing at this point is probably just long distance shots, which is always nice to see. But he didn't need to in this game because Granada were holding a terrible defensive line that you could just exploit the space in behind.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that we always expect from Marco Asensio, or that we've been critical of with Marco Asensio, is his defensive tracking.
Yeah.
And today I noticed he was tracking back, like he was doing what he needed to do. He was putting the effort in at least. And so that's kind of the bare minimum required that we expect from him in that position. And he was doing it today. So that's encouraging. And I think, like you said, Keon, he was more involved. He was more of an active presence throughout the match. And there's been too many games where we talk about Asensio and like maybe he had one or two good moments, but he was invisible for the rest of the game. That wasn't today. He was pretty active throughout the game, and the only moment that I don't think you mentioned, which I think could be something we use against these deeper blocks, because in the first half Granada was kind of sticking to their 4-4-2, and I know we have kind of criticized them defensively, but in the first half, they had their moments, and they were trying to, defend well within that block.
Yeah.
And we were having some trouble, and Asensio had that reverse long diagonal pass to Vinicius. And I think that's something that can be replicated in other games. And I think that's something that helps break a deep block and kind of stretches them out a little bit more. And so if he can continue to do something like that and bring that to the mix, it's only going to help him continue to keep that position and keep competing with Rodrigo for the right wing.
Yeah, well, and it was also interesting that he came over to the left a few times, and not in a way that really cluttered the left side. I think it actually was helpful because it provides you with numerical superiority on that side. All of a sudden, the right wing back has this cutting run that's not being tracked from the other side of the field. He provided overlaps for Vinicius, connected with Benzema. I think it actually, strategically you can do that without having to swap wings with Vinicius. You can just kind of, help the link up on that left side. And, the link up on that left side was quite good. This was a Benzema game that wasn't too eventful either, which he can be excused for games like this, obviously, because of everything he's done the last 2-3 years and beyond. But Benzema did have a couple 1-2s with Vinicius, as we see Conte screaming like a madman in the background because Tottenham have just picked up 3 points. He did have, and you and I we were thinking the same thing, and when I said it, you were like, "That's exactly what I was thinking." He did have a few connections with Vinicius that look very similar to the connection he has with Mbappe and in the French national team. So the link up from him was still pretty good for the most part, and obviously he was involved in Real Madrid's, was it third goal or fourth goal, the one that Vinicius scores and Benzema carries the ball up the field.
Yeah, third goal.
Third goal.
Yeah.
So he he still had his moments, right?
Yeah, and he managed 3 key passes in this game, 2 completed dribbles, 4 shots. So like even for Benzema, like the standards are so high that even on a day where he contributes like that, it's not considered his best day, but he was still from an end production standpoint really critical to the team and had his role. And I thought we made fun of Owen because he was in the first half said Vinicius was downright
Just
terrible, and then compared him to like Pele in the second half.
Neymar. Same thing.
But it was kind of like that for Vinicius today too. Like it wasn't, his standard is so high now as well that like it really wasn't the best game from him. I do think he really turned it on in the second half, and like when he made that one shoulder deke that left the defender coming sliding in and just left him for dust. I mean, he had a couple moments like that were incredible. And he provoked the red card. He was that red card run in itself where he takes on 3-4 different guys and then gets taken out was, he is just a joy to watch. And he's been, 10 goals. He's at double digits in November. That was unfathomable for us at the start of the season. And now, not only that, but he has 7 assists within 17 games. 17 goals and assists in 17 games. Like, what more could we ask from this kid? He's been unbelievable, and I'm really happy for him. He even, he almost scored, what was that chance when, the counterattack with Asensio, Benzema, and Vinicius in the 30th minute,
right,
where Benzema just overplays the pass. Vinicius nearly scored that one. It went to Asensio. That was the other right-footed shot you were talking about. That was nearly a Vinicius goal. So he had a couple attempts today, and I just thought it's encouraging that when our best attacking players aren't at their best, they're still at a good enough level that they can get a result.
Yeah. Well, he just went to another level. The gap between the first half and the second half in his performance was insane.
Yeah.
So in the second, I was looking at just his performance overall, and I was looking at my notes. The first real sequence where you noticed him was, I think, the 12th minute where he cuts in and shoots at the keeper. It's from kind of from a sweet spot because he likes to cut in the far post curler, but he just didn't get enough bend or power behind it. So that was the first one. You didn't really see him do much in the first half. Obviously the goal that Granada scored, he was involved in that in an unfortunate way. The second half, he starts going at players. He had his first real good dribbling sequence of this game was in the 47th minute, and then he just starts burning people. I think it's one of those things, he just got momentum. Granada got tired. Granada started defending worse and worse, and they got the red card. And Ancelotti was saying after the game, I took him off because can't risk it. The game was, I think he used the words, the game was getting hot. Yeah. You don't want to, and rightfully so, we took Vinicius off, and Rodrigo got to play a rare cameo on the left side because Hazard's obviously out of the lineup as well with a stomach issue. So the second half, Vinicius was just provoking, as you said. He was drawing a lot of attention. Some of his just smooth touches around defenders. For some reason, Granada, the other thing they were doing weird in this game is that they were just lunging at Vinicius. Yeah. I think that is a bad way to defend Vinicius. You're just giving him the exact opportunity to just drop a shoulder or get a touch past you. And then obviously the red card, which just made it impossible for Granada, basically.